I don't think I could ever have imagined how difficult it would be to fish here in the Mediterranean. We're just at San Felice, launching Giuliano's boat to head to Ponza.
Yes, this is my boat.
Ponza is a small island located around 130 kilometers south of Rome on the west coast of Italy. For the next 5 days, this was our home. So after a really early start and leave from Rome, made it to Ponza, took Giuliano's rib across here, just walked up about 180 stairs to get to our villa, and gonna take it easy. It's about midday. Then we're gonna go fishing at about 5 o'clock this afternoon. But in the meantime, I'll show you what this villa looks like. A little bit nervous, first time spearfishing in the Mediterranean. Sort of a bit of a dream really, because I used to look at this stuff when I was, I don't know, 15, 16 years old, and you'd see these guys in the Mediterranean diving to insane depths in insanely clear water, putting these awesome shots in cool fish like dentex and grouper, and it's kind of a bit of a, I don't know, a mecca for me to finally be here. So a little bit nervous, not sure what it's going to be like, but the goal is just to get a fish, any fish, in 4 days, and I'll be happy. The only bad thing about this place was the amount of stairs. Before we went diving every day, my legs were already burning.
What do you think to have a bath now?
You swim?
Yes. You are Anglo-Saxon, so for you probably it's not difficult to do this.
You want me to get that boat? Okay.
Okay, thank you.
I'm still not really sure what being Anglo-Saxon had to do with my ability to swim. The mission for the afternoon was to go and find some barracuda for dinner. Barracuda are not something I would normally target in Australia, but here they're a different species and allegedly very delicious. Within a minute of being in the water, Giuliano has spotted a shoal of barracuda and begins to give me some instruction on how to approach them. All I managed to do was spook the school. I quickly realised that spearing a fish here was going to be a lot more difficult than I had originally anticipated. They just buggered off so quick.
Many barracuda. They came close, but I didn't shoot fast enough.
I managed to get a little bit closer, but nowhere near enough for a shot. It was time for Giuliano to show me how it's done in the Med. Owing to the lack of sharks in the Mediterranean, most guys will string their fish on their weight belts, something you would never ever even consider doing in Australia. Even if you do get close enough for a shot, you have to pull the trigger really quickly. The fish don't hang around at all. At the next spot, I spied 3 corvina from the surface in about 14 metres of water. Corvina are like a very small mulloway, and in the Mediterranean, they are a highly prized fish. I thought this was game, set, and match. I'd completely blown my chances on these corvina. I should have dived down behind some of the nearby rocks and ambushed them from the bottom. I never saw those fish again. It was now 8 PM and we only had time for one last spot.
lumberjack, but it's a fish. Apparently it's very nice to eat. We'll see.
Sharing a meal together is such a massive part of Italian culture. Given that there were over 30 divers here from all over Italy, it made for a tremendous dinner. After all that pasta, I had a carbohydrate-induced coma. I was off to bed, dreaming of what tomorrow would bring. About to head out this morning. Sea looks a bit flatter with Fabrizio and Roberto, two really good divers. And yeah, the aim of the game is to get a couple barracuda for dinner. I'm hoping to find a corvina again and redeem myself, but got one fish yesterday, got a little amberjack, so I've shot something, so that's the main thing. But yeah, we'll see what today brings. Back down those stairs again. Despite the water being a cool 21 degrees, it was still blistering hot in the sun. On my very first dive of the day, I caught a glimpse of what is one of the most prized fish in the Mediterranean, the dusky groper, or as the Italians would say, cernia. Yep, that tiny little head peering over the rock at me, that's the only target this fish would allow me to see of itself. I decided I would call the boat over to get a torch and a small gun. I mean, how hard could it be to find this dusky groper that's just gone inside a hole? After half a dozen dives, I was left scratching my head about where this fish had gone. It just disappeared. Seeing as we only put one barracuda on the boat yesterday, Giuliano asked if we could get a few more for dinner. Once again, we were on the move. I soon spotted the shoal of barracuda and began to plan my dive. I was going to sneak down behind one rock, through a bit of a gutter, and hopefully come over the ridge and surprise the barracuda. Planning is one thing, execution is another. After getting super frustrated not being able to get anywhere near these fish, I decided to try the good old-fashioned swim at the fish method. Doesn't work in the Mediterranean at all. Those fish certainly weren't hanging around, so I decided to have a look at some of the deeper rocks. And this is when I saw my dream fish, the dentex. A dentex is at the very top of my list of Mediterranean fish I would love to capture. I return to the surface to calm down and have a relaxing breathe up. Not a dentex, but here you take what you can get. Finally got myself a fish all day after I saw a nice groper this morning, but didn't shoot fast enough. I saw some dentex off a little bit of a rock there on the previous dive, and I thought I'd go back down. And then I saw maybe one off in the distance, and this barracuda came in. Finally put a shot in that worked, and I have my fish here. It's not big, but it's apparently very, very tasty. And Giuliano is going to cook a special pasta dish tonight featuring barracuda. Looking forward to it.
Everybody know pasta con le sarde. Sarde are bite fish, small fish, but we don't have it here. So we use it for this barracuda. With spaghetti, it's a special spaghetti with a hole in the middle. We call them bucatini. Bucatini, buco, it's a hole.
Bucatini.
Buco. It's buco. Hole.
Something you would never eat in Australia. Pretty good here. Not bad. This place was like driving a boat in a duck pond. What are we hunting?
Maybe sargos, maybe. Se io ne voglio di strappargli il microfono e metterlo in testa.
Gonna go over to this pile of rocks and look for some dentex. Loading up the Seawolf, I had hopes of finding another dentex.
Just missed a corvina. Don't know what happened. Just a bad shot. Probably a bit nervous, but hopefully not the last fish I see today. Keep looking. Seen some sargos. They don't look very big, but maybe a big one will come in. We'll see.
This spot was fishy with small sargos, and maybe a big one would have came through, but I was just so devastated after missing that corvina, so we ended up moving spots. Finally, a fish sitting outside of its hole, not moving. Too slow yet again. I played cat and mouse for the next 20 minutes, and all I did was catch a glimpse of these groper. Alessio and John Paolo had caught a few nice little fish each, and they were really stoked to go back and finish the day. I, on the other hand, I was just still bummed about missing all the opportunities that I did with the groper and the corvina. I had to go back out. I dropped the guys back in at the harbour and then headed straight back out, hoping to redeem myself on sunset. Despite diving hard for the next 2 hours, I just didn't come up with a fish. I couldn't do anything more but enjoy the sunset.
This is a traditional Italian barbecue. Okay. With ribs, pig's ribs, and salsiccia. I know the mother, but not the father.
After gorging on all those ribs and pasta, the carbohydrate coma came around real quick. Like every dive trip, there has to be a last day, and this was it. I was headed out with Tony and Roberto, two incredible Italian divers. I was quietly confident we would find some fish. We started diving on some pinnacles around 25 meters deep, but I just hadn't really seen any fish worth shooting. On the other hand, Tony knows this place like the back of his hand.
L'afro e viene, è un po' incastrata.
Tony has shot a groper in a hole and now Roberto's gone to help him retrieve it, so hopefully they get something. Several dives later and Tony returns to the surface with this beautiful dusky groper. At 63 years of age, Tony is an absolute beast. He's been diving for over half a century. I just wish that I spoke Italian so he could teach me more about spearfishing in the Mediterranean. Yeah. You knew this, you know the hole?
Under this stone.
Ah, see.
But I know this stone.
Now more than ever, I just wanted to find a dusky for myself.
Guarda, c'è una bilancetta là dentro, pesiamola.
So I never really expected the fishing here to be quite so difficult. It's just such a technical way of diving where you have to be mindful of every little movement, every little noise that you make underwater, and it's just something that I've never had to deal with before in Australia. You know, you can splash around on the surface, you can make noise, and sometimes that'll even attract fish. Here it's just fish are gone just so quickly, even at the sight of you. You have to, you know, be planning your dive so you go down behind a rock this way, so if there is a fish there, maybe that they won't see you and then you can surprise them. I've tried this a little bit on some small gropers, and even still they just disappear. And yeah, I've had a few opportunities at some corvina, but just approached them wrong, or I had one where I missed. And yeah, it's really tough out here, and these guys have a really refined style of diving with the torch, and they hunt in holes a lot. It's just something that I'm not used to at all, and something that probably has to be refined and worked on to be successful here. So learning a lot. Hopefully I can maybe shoot another fish, but I don't hold high hopes for that. We'll see what the day brings. On this ledge in 26 meters of water, I found a small wrasse, but I didn't come all the way here to the Mediterranean to just shoot a wrasse. Understandably, Tony was done for the day. He'd shot his prized fish, but I asked on the way back if we could stop at the spot that I'd seen a dentex the other day. I was kind of just hoping that I would get a fairy tale ending to this trip. The current had changed and there were no dentex, and I certainly didn't want to shoot that barracuda. As the saying goes, when in Rome, do as the Romans, and most of these guys were from Rome. I grabbed the torch and started looking in holes.
Groper in a hole. Spear's pretty badly stuck. I couldn't pull it out. Hopefully, really hope I can get this fish this last day, last spot. Feeling pretty nervous, but just gotta breathe up here on the surface for a bit. Try and calm down. See if I can bring this fish home for dinner.
Finally, after 4 days, I have been out with Tony, the master, and he's shown me how to hunt in the holes, and I finally got one. So very happy, looking forward to eating this, and thank you to Roberto and Tony for helping me. I'm very happy, very happy. At 1.8 kilos, this was by no means a big fish, but it had taken me 4 days to get here, so I was so stoked. While I was messing about with my little groper in a hole, Tony had shot this golden groper in 28.5 meters. Between us, it took 11 dives to get it out. Bellissimo. The spearfishing here is like nothing else I've ever experienced. It's kind of like a marathon runner and a sprinter. They're both essentially running, but they are completely different events. I was really looking forward to eating my groper for dinner.
Secondi, everything with fish inside. Grouper. Yes, grouper, Mediterranean grouper. I don't speak, only do. Okay. This is a special soup with grouper and cheshi. I don't know. Cheshi is chickpea. How? Chickpea. Chickpea. With chickpea. You know? Perché come lo
Tastes like success. Actually, that's pretty good. With the chickpeas. Oh, bones. It was such an incredible honor to be invited to Blucamp. Thanks to everybody who made us feel so welcome. And Giuliano, grazie mille. I'll be coming back for my dentex.